Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Sanaparatna. Grab your favorite drink, get yourself a snack, and we will get started. Today I have Raisinets, so chocolate covered raisins, and I have mango peach Lipton black tea. It is a fruity kind of morning. Yes, one is with cream and sugar and the other is covered in chocolate, but there's fruit underneath, so we're going to count it. So let's get real. You know, there are things in your life that you look back and go, oh, wow, I see the plan. So I want to tell you a little bit, about something that I've struggled with for years, not necessarily like anything bad, but my daughter has wanted a job since the age of like sixth grade, so like 12 years old. She's wanted to work at some place that she can make coffee or really a pizza joint. Like she's not very far off from me. I wanted to do that this summer, and then I looked at her schedule and thought, oh, that's never going to work. Anyway, so when she got to the age that she was able to start working in our state, which is about 15, 16, sometimes you can do it at 14, she started having almost a daily discussion with us about, I want a job, I want a job, I want a job, I want money, I want a job. And my husband and I, well, we have kind of different backgrounds when we grew up. And I got a job at the age of 16 because I needed a job. My mom was a single mom, and I needed money to pay for insurance and pay for gas and all those kind of good things that my mom couldn't afford to do. And what happened for me is I kind of had to choose between my job and going to school. Now, I went to school, but I didn't do my school work because there are only so many hours in a day. So for me, my job, I loved it. It was super fun. I worked at a big retailer, and I worked there for like 4 years, I think, and I loved it. But I didn't have the balance of actually going to school. So we've told my daughter since she was very little that her job is to go to school. Like, that's her job. You go to school. You don't need to do other things to make ends meet. That's not what it is. Right now, your job is to go to school until you graduate from high school. So we weren't like the other parents who everybody had their kids get jobs, because we work every weekend, and that's when they have teenagers work. And so she needed to come with us. So her getting a job would be like, well, I can work between 1 and 3 on Tuesday. And it was just not practical for our life. So what we did, besides telling her that her job was to go to school, like that was her main focus. Like, we wanted her to focus on that because she loves school and she's very talented at it, but she works really hard. So most people may spend like an hour on something, she'll spend 3. Like, that's just who she is. And so we're trying to you need to learn how to do things quicker, and that's just not her style. But in 9th grade, when she got really upset because all of her friends got jobs and they all had money and it became this big thing, we knew that her getting a job just did not work for our family dynamic. We knew that she already had learned responsibility. She knows she has a good work ethic. Like, all those pieces were already in place. So we gave her the job of filling out scholarships for college. That was her job. And she spent hours and hours doing that. So we would find scholarships. She found them. We found them. And she would fill them out and fill them out and fill them out. And honestly, I was like, this is pointless. Like, nothing is coming from this. Like, it is just a big waste of time, but this is what we've told her to do. Especially in 9th grade, I was like, what is the point? I mean, she won like $100 one for some writing thing in 9th grade, I think. You know, just kind of like going, oh my goodness, what are we doing wrong? And so we also had her writing. Like, that was something else. We were like, you have some downtime? Sit down and write, because she wants to be an author and she has such creative ideas. So we're like, invest in that piece. Now you fast forward to college is creeping up very quickly, 11th and 12th grade. And she was like, Mom, think of all the money I can make if I get my job now. And I'm like, really? It still doesn't work for, like, our lifestyle has not changed. Super sorry, we're not home. And you volunteer all the time. So, and you're now in college because she was doing college in high school. So, like, could we focus on getting through this? And so her senior year, we had a big discussion and we said just continue to fill out scholarships. That's really what we want. And so she applied to her dream school, which is the school it's not right down the road, but it's about 20 minutes from our house. It's actually where Kevin went to school, and it's a school that she went to in high school with some college courses, and she just loves it there. It's called North Central University. And she just absolutely felt at home. We've actually been looking at schools since 9th grade. We've gone and visited schools. We've been on school days. So this is not the only school that she's looked at. Like, we have really invested in making sure she knew what she wanted to do. In fact, at one time she wanted to go overseas. So we went overseas, and that luckily she was like, no, this isn't the right place. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord. Not that it wasn't a great school, but Mom wanted 8 hours on a plane is a long ways away from home the first time you move. Anyway, so along comes her senior year, and she applies for the school, and he texts her right away and said, by the way, you just got approved for a scholarship. And I was like, well, there you go. Another scholarship. This is amazing. And we sat down with him, and he's like, I'm like, so what because a lot of them have like strings attached to them and whatever. And he was like, well, it pays for all of your schooling, and you don't need to worry about your grades. And it's solely based on what you did in high school. You just need to be a D and above, which for Samantha is not that big of a deal. For me, that would have been an issue. Anyway, so he's like, really, you have room, board, books, and all the other fees. That's really what you have to pay. And we were like, okay, that's amazing. Like, thank you, Lord. What an amazing opportunity. We were so excited. And so Sam was like, okay, I'm going to get a job. And so we're like, yep, absolutely. Now you're graduated from, about to graduate from high school. You can go out and get a job, and we'll see, you can earn that money and then pay for 1 year, and then, whatever we need to do. So we're just, moving along. And all of a sudden there was a scholarship that she had applied for back I think like the beginning of her senior year or end of her junior year. Like, I saw it on like a reel on Facebook, and all of a sudden in December, we get a text, or she gets an email, and she is a finalist. And we're like, okay, well, this is interesting. All right, so she goes and she has to do an interview in person, and she's written all of these papers for them, and it's been a big process. It was a big scholarship. And so, she was like doing that and several other scholarships, and it was all these pieces were coming together. And the day before the finalist came out for this big scholarship, she got another scholarship that said, hey, here's your new scholarship, and it pays for your school. And we're like, oh, that's great, but her schooling's already paid for, so it really doesn't help her. And they're like, no, this can pay for room and board. And we're like, okay, at this point, like, you're basically paying, like, I think it would be $2,500 for the entire year, like, for everything. And we're like, this is crazy. 2 days later, she gets an email. It was on Easter, I believe, actually. And she got the Gates Scholarship. Now, if you don't know what that is, let me describe what it is. It is a 4-year scholarship that pays for everything. It pays for your education, it pays for your room and board, it pays for transportation, it pays for fees, it pays for books, it pays for shampoo, it pays for laundry. Like, it pays for everything, including a new computer. Like, it is crazy. And at that moment, I'm sitting there in tears, cannot believe this is happening. And Sam said, I am so glad that you had me doing scholarships all of these years, because I made more money than I would have at a small job. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is not only because we are psyched and excited, and she's actually, with that scholarship, they have a 4 years, but a 4-day leadership training conference that they fly everybody to. There's only 700 kids that win it every year. And I think it's like 53,000 people apply every year. So they fly the 700 kids to a resort, and they teach them how to be leaders and how to network and all these really great things that we have been trying to teach her for years. And now they're teaching her too. And she's like, wow, you wouldn't believe the wisdom they're giving me. Anyway, if you're a parent, you understand, right? Like, oh, I've been saying that for years. Anyway, so she's actually flying out to Phoenix by herself because parents aren't invited. Shock, I know, it's wild. But, and then they have internships, and they have different things that are connected with this, that once you're one of their scholars, you stay one of their scholars for life, and they want you to come back and be in leadership. Anyway, it's just a crazy thing. And as we are celebrating and excited about what God's doing, there is a reminder to me that sometimes you're doing stuff that makes no sense, right? When you're in 9th grade and your parents are like, no, you can't go do what you want to do and go work at a coffee house. You need to stay home and fill out scholarships. It doesn't make sense. You're like, this makes no sense whatsoever. But because honestly, the girl filled out more scholarships than I'm going to admit. I mean, it was very high numbers of scholarships that she filled out, and then ended up having to give back scholarships and say, use this for other kids because I don't need it anymore, and was able to pass it on to other students. We didn't keep those scholarships. We actually passed them back so they could give them to other people that may need that. But sometimes you're just in the trenches going, this makes no sense, Lord. Like, I don't understand why I'm doing this. This is piddly. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm just not sure that this is even worth my time. And I just wanted to remind you that we don't always see the big picture. You know, as parents, sometimes we see the bigger picture, and we see that you learn when you write out 50 different scholarships, and I wish that's how many she had applied for. She actually applied for more. And you fill out the little essay every single time, and you write that essay over and over and over and over again. By the time it gets to the big one, she knew what she was doing. She was confident. She knew the wording she needed to have. She had honed it in. And that is the reason, I mean, other than that God was like, I'm going to bless you, that is one of the reasons she got through, is because of her essays and because of all the hard work that she had done up till then, that she knew how to fill them out right. She knew what she had done wrong and learned the lesson and moved on. And, you know, a lot of people just don't know the hard work behind your success, right? Like sometimes you look at other people's lives and you go, oh man, I really wish I could be the CEO of that company, or I could be the senior pastor of that church, or I could have all my kids, you know, doing what they're supposed to be doing instead of, you know, roaming the streets or whatever. Like you look at other people's lives, but you don't see all the hard work that has gone into where they have gotten to. And right now you may be in the hard work stage. You may be going to school for something that you've always wanted to go to. You may be trying to figure out how to just get through today. And I just wanted to remind you that the big plan is there. That what you have been called to do, you will eventually do. But sometimes there's a lot of work, and it's not glamorous and it's not fun to get where you want to go. Now, today I actually got inspired to make a bunch of food because I love cooking, I love baking, but it has not been something that just came to me. Like I just didn't wake up one morning and go, you know what, I'm going to whip up a recipe and it's going to be amazing. There have been flops, there have been mess ups. There have been moments that I have used cumin instead of cinnamon. Like, there are just things that you do wrong as you grow and learn. And that doesn't mean that you give up. I didn't stop making that recipe because I use cumin instead of cinnamon. I have never done it again. I have never messed up. I always smell it now. I'm always very cautious because I'm learning from my mistakes. And I don't throw things away. I just keep going after them. And I hope this is encouraging to you. Not only can you celebrate with us, we are thrilled for Samantha. This is such an enormous accomplishment on her end. We just are so proud of her because she worked very hard for it. It wasn't something given to her. It was something that she worked hard for. And you know what? You're working hard right now. And eventually you're going to look back and go, boy, am I glad I put in the hours. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I just hope that you can be encouraged in the midst of maybe your hard work and feeling like, boy, that was a failure, or boy, that didn't go well. That you know that just learn from that mistake, shake it off, and keep going after what God has called you to do. Well, you can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram and on Facebook. You can also support this podcast by going to buymeacoffee.com/reallifewithjenny. Those of you that have given, I just so appreciate you. You know who you are. And I just am grateful for you giving and for really the support. It just means a lot to me. It kind of keeps me going, and I just really appreciate that. You can also go to, ChristConnection.cc. Yeah, there we are, the website, ChristConnection.cc/Jen. Oh my goodness, it is one of those days. I think I need a little bit more of my fruit. So, well, keep going after it. The small things that you do now are going to multiply and are going to be used in ways that you'll never have any idea. Honestly, when we started her off on writing out scholarships, it was more because we knew we could never afford college for her. We don't make a lot of money, but we knew that that was not something that we could financially help with. And so we're like, this is a great way to see if we can get $100 here, $100 there. Never, ever thought crossed my mind that we would be where we are now because of the work that she did and the doors that God has opened. So sometimes just remember that you do the work, God opens the doors, and mighty things will happen. Have a great week.